video of a Brandis that went along with it, but it wasn't there. I must have selected the wrong version. Anyway, we are grateful that you are joining us here at the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living. Extended family via YouTube and our Facebook page. Welcome whenever you are viewing us, and know that we love you, we appreciate you, and we thank God for you. Today, February 4th, we begin our February series, Divine Discomfort, Lessons in Uncomfortability. I think the intention is to kind of shake us up a little bit and move us out of this comfort zone, which we began talking about last month as part of our Grand Rising experience. And we talk about frequently in the teachings of New Thought and Science of Mind, is to have that grounding so that we always have a base. And then we have the courage and the impetus to move out of our comfort zone and expand the possibilities that life has to offer. Like most months, February has holidays, folklore, celebrations, and includes lessons in uncomfortability. Starting out with Groundhog Day. Let me get on a little soap box here, soap opera box, whatever it is. Groundhog Day has always amused me. And the question is, in my mind, how can a groundhog be summoned on the same day every year to predict the weather? And there was a funny meme that I saw on social media a couple of days ago, and it was a picture of a rodent. Some of you may have seen it. But it was a picture of a rodent, and the caption at the bottom read, "I am a rodent, not a meteorologist." You know, it's one of those things that makes you go, and you may or may not question it. Also, February offers us Black History Month, Heart Health Month, National Cancer Prevention Month, Mardi Gras, Ash Wednesday, and the beginning of Lent, Valentine's Day. And then we conclude this year with Leap Day, February 29th. This is a leap year. And I did a little bit of research on Leap Day, and I discovered this from a website, Back to Basics Learning. And it describes February 29th as an inserted day. And it's called Leap Day because it's added to the calendar in leap years as a corrective measure, because the Earth does not orbit around the sun in precisely 365 days. The Earth takes approximately 365.25 days to orbit the sun. And so we add one day to our calendar approximately every 4 years to make up for this missing partial day. And so I ask us this morning to consider, February begins with something that is made up, Groundhog Day, and it ends with something that is inserted, Leap Day. Where else in our lives do we live from a place that is made up or inserted? Where do we attempt to control the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, to fit our particular needs? And this is where we have to reevaluate. Are we doing this to be in a place of comfort? Or are we doing this to manipulate comfort and not be in a place of agreement with the laws of the universe? Black History Month is dedicated to exploring the lessons learned from being uncomfortable, and invites us to put down the need to be comfortable and create an opening for transformation. We recognize the universal pain of exclusion and oppression, and open ourselves to pull our vision into a world that works for everyone right where they are. And our CSL Global Vision, as I frequently remind you, the overarching vision is to experience a world, or to create a world that works for everyone. And and there are those of us within the movement that ask this question: how do we know that the world is not working for everyone exactly as it is right now? And so I add to this, our vision is to create a world that works for everyone right where they are. A world that is inclusive, that is affirming, that recognizes the oneness of all life. I recently read an op-ed in the Washington Post by Colbert King, and the title of this is "What It Means When a 9-Year-Old is Charged with Attempted Robbery." What it means when a 9-year-old is charged with attempted robbery. And this op-ed, I won't go into all of it, but it addresses the circumstances that influenced a 9-year-old and his 13-year-old cousin to become involved in street crime. The essence for me of this op-ed is to bring awareness to the plight of individuals who are living in marginalized communities, right here in our own communities. We don't have to look outside of our own local communities to identify individuals who are living in marginalized circumstances. My takeaway points, however, from this op-ed are: this year's Black History Month kicks off with a recognition of a milestone that warrants no celebration whatsoever. And I'll talk more about this a little bit later. It also encourages us to look back with pride, but not to ignore the present calamity. Our New Thought movement has not had a stellar history when it comes to the inclusion and recognition of people of African descent. Attempts to erase Black New Thought leaders like Dr. Johnny Coleman, Sarah Flowers, Dr. Daniel Lee Morgan, Dr. Barbara Lewis King, and others exist within our New Thought movement. And the good news is today, our own Centers for Spiritual Living and other New Thought movement organizations are shifting this and a focus to including contemporary Black New Thought leaders like my teacher, Reverend Dr. Eloise Oliver, Reverend Dr. Francione, who was also one of my teachers, Reverend Gregory Toole, Reverend Dr. Andriette Earle, Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, and Reverend Dereka Blackman, along with Reverend Deborah L. Johnson, and many others who are serving locally and nationally, encouraging us to bring the conscious energy of spirit, truth, and inclusivity into all of our communities. The stories of these individuals serve as reminders for us that our most uncomfortable and challenging moments can be where we find the strength to create change. The discomfort we experience often propels us to seek freedom from internalized unconscious bias and helps us pave the way for the liberation of countless others. These remarkable journeys remind us of the power of resilience, determination, and the pursuit of a better tomorrow. And this is not just exclusive to the Black communities, people of color, people of other ethnic descents. It is inclusive of all communities. We all, in some ways, in our background, if we look at our ancestral history, we will see the power of resilience. We will see the power of determination, and we will see the pursuit for a better tomorrow. Our focus today is on lessons in uncomfortability, and it invites us to recognize our power and potential for positive transformation. We can choose to embrace change, release limiting beliefs, cultivate awareness, engage in affirmative practices, seek support, and take inspired action, knowing that there are valuable lessons to be learned from our discomfort. Beliefs are often formed through conditioning and past experiences. They influence how we perceive and respond to change. Negative or limiting beliefs create resistance and hinder our ability to embrace new possibilities. Belonging is an expression of life. And this is a quote from Sabine Solis in her book, You Belong. I have this book on my bookshelf, and for some reason, the last couple of weeks, it's just really been calling to me. And I pulled it out last week to see if maybe there was something I could glean from my talk last week. And there wasn't anything that really resonated with me, but the book would not go back onto the bookcase. It stayed on my desk, and I would move it to the floor if I was working on something, and it would come back onto the desk. And so this week, as I was preparing for this talk, I said, okay, let me focus and see what the message is that is within these book covers. Sabine Solis shares her story of growing up as a Black immigrant in a dominant culture, learning to accept the paradoxes of belonging. Being linguistically bilingual and fluent in different ways, she lived in her home with one language, one food, and one set of customs. And yet outside of the home, there were different versions of the same things. And the cover flap of the books of You Belong says, "You are not separate." And I think this is a message that was for me this morning, and I'm sharing it with you. You are not separate. You never were. You never will be. Let that sink in for a moment. You are not separate. We are not separate. We never were. And we never will be, because we are one with this infinite creative intelligence. You Belong was written in 2020, and it is a paradox of where we are now in our cultural revolution, with policies, practices, and laws being introduced to rewrite the African American experience of chattel slavery and other exclusionary practices in an attempt to deny the cultural, political, spiritual, and social history of people of African descent. Whether we agree with it or not is not important. What is important to me as a person of color, and to others who live in margin, or who may have come out of marginalized experiences, to deny the cultural heritage of an individual or a group of individuals is to deny their existence. And we collectively cannot be wiped off of the face of the earth. Because when one leaves, everyone leaves, because we're all one in spirit. Sabine uses the phrase, the delusion of separation, to describe our interactions. She follows up with this question: how do you acknowledge differences and equalities, yet also hold a firm conviction that fundamentally we are all irrevocably interconnected and belong to each other? The answer to this question is quite simple. Nothing is separate. And so as we set an intent in our spiritual communities, in our spiritual life, in our daily activities, to identify this delusion of separation that may exist within our own selves, we come back to that point. We come back to this spiritual principle, this universal truth that nothing is separate. One of the things that I love about Science of Mind is that it offers us the tools of empowerment to get the answers for ourselves. We talk about going within and listening, and this is what Brannis McKenzie talked about in the musical offering this morning. When we listen with our heart more than with our mind, things come into full perspective. And so Science of Mind teaches us to recognize that change in life can be uncomfortable. And yet, uncomfortability cultivates an appetite for curiosity. The discomfort of change points to the highlights, the importance of embracing our conscious awareness of the creative intelligence or universal presence that permeates everything. This field of pure potentiality, as we refer to it, is always responsive to our thoughts and beliefs. And I'm reminded of the Rumi quote that says, out and beyond any idea of right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. I will meet you there. And so when we move beyond, when we have the courage to move beyond these often culturally imposed ideas of right and wrong, we move beyond those restrictions into this field of infinite potentiality. This is where the creativity works, and this is where we begin to see how God manifests through us in bringing about a change in our lives. Our thoughts have creative power. They shape our perceptions, our emotions, and our experiences. And it is vital to consciously direct our thoughts towards positive and empowering beliefs. Another tool that Science of Mind and our New Thought teachings offer to us. Our minds tend to hold familiar patterns, even if they no longer serve us. And so that was part of our reading this morning from the Season for Nonviolence, is to recognize those places where we're holding on to something that is more sentimental. It has a sentimental value. We're not denying the sentimental value, but we're invited to question, does this still continue to serve me today in this moment? Resistance can manifest itself as fear, doubt, or clinging to the past. And by letting go of resistance, we experience a personal growth and create a more fulfilling life. Embracing the power of conscious choice, we become aware of our thoughts, beliefs, and resistance. And we experience a change as an opportunity for personal and spiritual growth and expression. Ernest Holmes addresses this in one of my favorite passages in our Science of Mind textbook. And in this passage, he says, it's actually the chapter on immortality. In this chapter, he says, nature will not let us stay in any one place too long. She will let us stay long enough to gather the experience necessary for the unfolding and advancement of the soul. Nature demands change in order that we may advance. And this is on page 385. Science of Mind teaches us that change is a natural part of life, and that embracing it can lead to growth and transformation. And so how does this all relate to Black History Month? How does it relate to other areas in our lives where we may feel that we are being pushed to move into a direction that is not comfortable for us? What this means, and what Ernest is telling us, is that if we're in the flow of nature, if we're in the flow of the universe, then we have an opportunity to welcome the change and to embrace what the lessons that the change has to offer to us. Now, I'm not advocating that we all go out with picket signs and rah, rah, Black history, rah, rah, civil rights, rah, rah, rah. That is not my particular style. And I salute those people who are called to that type of movement and activity. But there's a place for each one of us to make a difference. And that difference begins within our own internal being and awareness. And so what I offer to you this morning is a challenge. Next time you see someone that doesn't look like you, breathe in. There is an expression of God. And breathe out. I am one with this expression of God. And I close with this quote by Karina Bliss Rice. Outside of your comfort zone is the only place worth living. Outside of your comfort zone is the only place worth living. And so I have an outgoing message on my answering device. And it says, I'm out having fun. And a lot of people respond to that and said, thanks for that. I'm going to go out and have fun. And so for me, out having fun takes me out of my comfort zone because it means I'm exploring something that is not familiar. And so whatever it is that motivates you to move out of your comfort zone, make sure that you have fun doing it. Let us say together now our affirmation for the week. I expand beyond my comfort zone and trust the goodness of the universe to support me. Let us say that together. I expand beyond my comfort zone and trust the goodness of the universe to support me. And I invite us to turn within as we just take a collective breath. Let us breathe in the awareness of life. Let us breathe out anything that does not represent a quality of life that serves not only us, but serves the entire planetary family. And it is in this place that I affirm the all-prevailing presence of spirit, the all-prevailing presence of this universal intelligence that created everything out of itself and yet is not absorbed by its creation. I know that I am one with this creation, an individualized expression of it, living, moving, and having my very beingness as an expression of the divine. And as this is true for me, I declare it as the truth for all people and all things everywhere in the visible and also in the invisible universe that is surrounding us. We're all interconnected by this one force, this one breath of life that is breathing. It is the movement of energy that is circulating throughout the entire planet. And so as I release any ideas of separation in my own mind and embrace the nature of oneness, embrace the nature of the one life, I invite each one to do that same thing, to set an intention to identify where I am feeling separate from another person. And sometimes we can begin within our own families. Where am I feeling a disconnect within my own family? And what am I as a spiritual being called to be and to do to erase this feeling of separation in my own mind? This is our call. And so as I say yes to this call in my own life, I know that whatever it is that I need to release and to let go of, or need to reevaluate or rethink about, reveals itself to me with ease and grace. And when I don't respond with ease and grace, it responds with that proverbial universal whack upside the head. And I move into this place of conscious awareness of listening with my heart and not just with my mind. And so this morning, right here, right now, I speak a word of blessing on the entire planetary family. And for each one of our lives, where there is a question, where there is a challenge, where there is an opportunity, I am affirming that the universe is saying yes, and that the answer is being revealed in a way that each one understands within their own essence, creating an energy of movement, an energy of lightness that is bringing about the manifestation of God working through each one to reveal its divine, perfect plan. For those who are experiencing life challenges, whatever they may be, go within to your own heart. Go within to that quiet place and just know that the answer is being revealed, that everything is working out in divine, right, and perfect order, even if it doesn't look like it in the moment. Everything, absolutely everything, is always working for our highest and best. And so for this awareness of truth, I give thanks. I'm grateful for the word that is spoken. I am grateful for this particular moment in eternity. And as I release this word into the law, which always says yes, I know that it is done. And if any of what I have said resonates with you in any way, let us affirm it together by saying, and so it is. As we gently move back bring our awareness back into this physical space, just a reminder that practitioners are available to support you with prayer. In some of our religious science of mind churches, there was a part in the service where there was, I think it was called Joys and Sorrows. And it was where you mentioned those things that you were joyful for, that you were excited for. And also the sorrows represented challenges that may be appearing in your life. So when you meet with a practitioner, we welcome your joys as well as your sorrows. Allow us to celebrate the good that is happening in life. And for those of you who are here in the center, we have a prayer request form that is on our prayer table that is off to my left and would be your right. We invite you to fill that out. And if you would like to be contacted by a minister or a practitioner, include your contact information. And if you just wanted to be uplifted in prayer and supported in prayer, let us know. And for those who are viewing online, we partner with our Centers for Spiritual Living World Ministry of Prayer, and that information can be found on our website and also in our newsletter. We also partner with Silent Unity, and that information is on our website and in our newsletter. And now it is time for us to engage in the circulation of prosperity and abundance. We have an affirmation of abundance, and I invite us to say that together now. I recognize the presence of God within as a source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the uninterrupted flow of abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance confidence. And so we have ways to donate to our center. For those of you who are here in the center, we have a donation box that is on the little hospitality table in the fellowship area. You may leave your donations there. You may also mail in your donations, and our address is on your screen, 400 West Franklin Street, Monterey, California, 93940. You may text to give, and that number is 831-246-9694. And you may also donate through our website. And I keep promising that we're going to have the Venmo code on here, and I keep forgetting to, to ask our tech team to include that. So tech team, remind me during the week. So we appreciate the way that you continue to support and love our center financially, as well as with your presence, with your time, and with your talent. And I also want to take this opportunity to just voice my acknowledgement and gratitude for those who work behind the scenes on Sunday morning and during the week to create an energy that circulates in here that represents the love that we are. Your work does not go unnoticed. I sincerely appreciate you for everything that you do for our center, because we are a community and we thrive together as a community. So thank you for that. For our Facebook and our YouTube family, a couple of things that we would like to bring your attention to, and that is our Centers for Spiritual Living Annual Convention. It's taking place February 19th through 22nd in Charleston, South Carolina. There's an opportunity to participate virtually, and if you go onto the website, csl.org, There will be registration information there about the convention. We are also in the season for nonviolence, and this is the time that celebrates the life of Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and the Dalai Lama is included this year. Last year they included Cesar Chavez. This year they're including the Dalai Lama as examples for peace and for nonviolence. And for the Sundays, the remaining Sundays during the season for nonviolence, our inspirational readings will be the daily guide for that particular day. We are offering Infinite Possibilities class, and this is based on the work of Mike Dooley. Some of you may be familiar with his Notes from the Universe, Daily Guides and Inspirations. This is being facilitated by a dear friend of mine and a trained facilitator in the Infinite Possibilities class, Suzanne Alexander. The class dates are February 27th, March 6th, and March 13th, and this will be an online class. And then I'm going to include, yes, we can rent our space. For those of you who may live locally and you're part of an organization that may be looking for space to rent, we do have space for rent in our facility. And we invite you to pick up a brochure or to go onto our website, montereycsl.org, for that information. The other thing I want to announce, because I know some of our YouTube viewers are not on Facebook. But for those of you who are members or friends of the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living, our own annual meeting will take place on March 3rd. And it will be immediately following the service. And we'll have more information for you on that. But save that date, March 3rd, for our annual meeting. And so as we say good morning, good evening, God bless you, wherever you are, to our Facebook and our YouTube families, we remind you to come back next week, where our topic will be Where Comfort Ends, Transformation Begins. And to comment, like, and share our page so that this message of the love of God continues to expand itself throughout the entire planet. And so for those of us who are here in